Born Primitive Outdoor is proud to partner with Montana Knife Company, Marsupial Gear, Evolution Outdoors, Sheep Feet, and Capture Gear. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to our sponsors. Welcome back to the Born Primitive Outdoor podcast. Today I have Nate Illingsworth on the podcast. Nate is somewhat of a, I guess you would say, an influencer. Nate, tell everybody about yourself, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I think like maybe special needs like would be a better way to put it. I don't know if influencer. You think you have to influence people to be called an influencer?
You've motivated people. I'm trying to think. The first reel I saw of you was you running, and it's like what I think I look like, and then there was this buff ass black dude running, right? And then I think that's the first one I saw, which I believe has over like 1 million views or something.
Yeah, that was like the reel that I've had that's done the best. That one caught 78 million.
I'm trying to find it. So that one was 78 million. And then, so what possessed you? So I give everybody a little bit of a background, because obviously you've got a fucked up sense of humor like I do. Little bit of a background, and then what urged you to start making funny ass memes about you doing marathons and shit?
Yeah, I made a few videos like a while back. My wife and I, we still live in Texas, and I had like started losing weight, and I wasn't really doing anything. I was online. I was posting a little bit, but my content was always like horrible. And I remember one time my wife was like filming something for me or something. I think I was like, or maybe I was filming something out in the backyard, like shooting my bow or something. And Katie, my wife, was like, "Dude, your content sucks." And I was like, "What are you talking about? It's really good." And she was like, "No, like it's not enjoyable to watch. Like you need to do better if you're going to do it." And so I remember thinking like, "Oh, that was so dumb." But then like I would every once in a while just put out a video that was just absolutely terrible. And then I was running this ultra marathon in March of 24, and I was like kind of pissed off in the back half of this race because I didn't realize how hard it was going to be. So I kind of like hit this wall, and I pulled out my phone, and I was just like recorded kind of what I was like going through. And like in my mind, I was like, dude, skip marathon or half marathon, just go straight to an ultra, because at least when it gets hard, you can walk and eat waffles. And that's what I was doing. I was literally eating a waffle walking. And then that reel like took off, and then I was like, oh, maybe my wife is right. I should just make stuff with like my personality. So I just started doing that, and then I just got super lucky and caught the algorithm or whatever, and it just kind of took off from there.
Gotcha. So where are you at now? What was your biggest, and where are you at now? Because it looks like you're on a bit of a journey as far as fitness goes.
Yeah, I got up to 300 pounds is the biggest I was. And not like a good 300 pounds, like just like a super fat 300 pounds. And now I'm down to 225.
What's your goal? Do you got like a number you're wanting to get to?
Yeah, I want to get down to 200 and then just kind of float around there. I just got a DEXA done, and I'm like 25%. I haven't planned enough. I think I'm like 25% body fat right now. So I've probably got like another 40 pounds that I could lose, but I want to kind of just see what I'm looking like composition wise at 200. And then I'll maybe have a little bit more to lose from there. Maybe I'll just try to get as strong as I can and just live at 200. I don't know. I've never been 200 since like second grade, so I have no idea what I'll be like at 200 pounds.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What did you, as you were kind of going through this, like, what were the things you changed first? What did you learn? Like, I know, so you're giving me shit when I said I was a fat kid because I wasn't fat enough, but like, I know like there's certain things I was doing that I thought were right. And then once I kind of learned more and more about dieting or whatever, it made a lot more sense and was a lot easier. What were some of the first things you got rid of? What did you learn? And, what's your biggest obstacle now?
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate when I started because I started working with a buddy who was like a fitness coach, and he just taught me like how to track macros. And I just think macros are like the holy grail. Like if someone wants to lose weight, and they're like, well, where do I start? It's so easy. It's just macros. And if you're not willing to track macros, I just have no idea how you do anything with it. Just knowing what you're putting into your body and then understanding, like, I think you kind of have to develop, and so, some people say this is unhealthy or whatever, but I don't know. I think it's just the only way you can do it. But you have to stop looking at food as like meals and start looking at it as just numbers. Like, okay, I know a chicken breast is going to have more protein and less fat, so the calories are going to be like, the protein to calorie ratio is going to be higher in chicken. Or that's why like wild game is amazing, because it has a really high protein to calorie ratio, but you're still eating red meat versus like a ribeye. Like, the ribeye is going to taste really good, but it also has not a very good protein to calorie ratio. So I just think, like, understanding, okay, so I've got a goal, I want to lose 50 pounds or whatever your goal is, learning the macros that are going to go into that, and then you can eat whatever you want as long as it fits into those macros.
So I mean, I agree, but explain, like, for those listening that, because generally when I have somebody on the podcast, they're a Greek god and giving, advice. And I know when I was, going through my journey, I guess you could say, people would say that. And I'm like, fuck off. You've never been fat. I don't want to hear that shit. Like, you don't know. So like, explain like what macros are, and then how your body, or what your body, because everybody's a little bit different. Are you very low carbs, higher protein, even higher fat, or protein's your number one, macros, as far as macros go, and then fat and then carbs are at the bottom? Like, where are you? What's your pie chart look like with macros?
Yeah. So macros are just what food is made out of. So there's three things that go into food. It's protein, carbs, and fat. So that's what all your food is made out of. And those are the macros, or macronutrients. What you're doing when you're saying track your macros is you're knowing how much of those things you're going to eat a day. And then you have to know calorically too. So you need to know how many calories you're going to shoot for, and then know that one protein is 4 calories, one carb is 4 calories, one fat is 9 calories. So then you can construct a diet based off of those things. So calories wise, if you want to lose 1 pound of fat, it's 3,500 calories. So just to make it like super simple, if you, let's say your body, between exercise and your just being alive, your body burns 2,500 calories a day. Then if you eat 2,250 calories a day, you'll be in a 250 calorie deficit. Oh, no, wait. Sorry. You burn 2,000 calories a day. You're in a 500 calorie deficit. You're going to burn 3,500 calories a week. Extra, you're going to burn 1 pound of fat a week. So you can construct, okay, here's what I have to eat to lose the amount of weight I want to lose, at what rate I want to lose it. So if you eat 1,000 calorie deficit a day, you're going to lose 2 pounds of fat a week. But you need to make sure that you're eating enough protein. So kind of the way I like to construct macros, like the golden rule would be a gram per pound of body weight for protein, especially if you're lifting weights. That's just like you have to hit that. And then what I do is just I've played around with my fats and carbs. I don't feel very good when I eat high fat, so I like to keep my fats lower and my carbs a little bit higher, but I try to make sure most of my carbs come from fruits. I don't know why, I just feel really good when I do that. And I've noticed I stay a little bit leaner, but some people are the opposite. Some people have to keep the carbs super low and keep the fats a little bit higher, but that's just going to be, you kind of have to play around with that and figure it out on your own.
So, I mean, let's talk about that for a little bit. So if you're looking at, when you let's say you look at one meal. So, for me, when I look at that one meal, when you look back in time, the food pyramid, which was a total crock shit. You don't want to follow the food pyramid, but it was like carbs were at the top, and then it, whatever, eat bread every day, whatever the hell that shit said. So
that's why I was so grateful when Michelle Obama changed that.
There you go. When you look, that's funny. When you look at your meal for the day, whatever that is, we'll just pick dinner. For me, I'm pretty close to 50%, maybe 40% protein. I eat a shit ton of protein, and then I'm closer to 20 to 30% fat. And then, depending roughly whatever, I'm 10, 20% carbs. Now, when you look at carbs, there's a lot of different types of carbs. So to keep it simple, there's veggie carbs, there's fruit carbs, there's potato carbs, and I oversimplifying that. But talk about carbs and how they work. Like, explain your understanding of a carb, because it goes into glycogen and how fast it burns and all kinds of shit.
Yeah, to be honest, like, I'm not super smart. I never finished college, but I think the easiest way, and the way I think about it, is like, carb is energy. So your body's going to use that energy. So what I try to do is, I know, let's say I'm going to eat 200 grams of carbs today, or 100, maybe 150 grams of carbs today. When am I going to need those carbs? Well, if carb is energy, and your body's going to turn that into blood sugar, and you're going to use that, when do I need the most energy? It's probably going to be around my workouts. So I'll eat more carbs around workouts. And then when do I not need carbs? Well, I probably don't need a ton of carbs when I'm going to bed, because I don't need any energy at night. So I will eat, my dinner is typically way higher protein. And a lot of times we just won't eat any carbs at night. We'll do like a protein by itself, or a protein and a vegetable, or like a salad or something like that.
Gotcha. So when you're doing, has the diet that the macros that you're kind of giving yourself, or the caloric intake and your macro kind of breakdown, have you plateaued from that? Like, there's all kinds of different, you got to have cheat days, or you got to have this, or whatever, you have to change things every certain amount of time. Like, have you plateaued?
Yeah, I plateaued a little bit for the past couple months, but for me, it's not necessarily a plateau because the macros stop working. For me, it's a plateau because if I'm on, like, you could take me anywhere and I will not cheat on my diet. But if I like get off of something, I just have this like insane, I think honestly, just because I'm a food addict. Like, there's a history of alcoholism in my family. So I think that there must just be like some trait that, for me, instead of being like a degenerate alcoholic, I've become like an obese, like, dude who's just addicted to food. So that's where I'll hit plateaus. And that's honestly been my biggest hiccup with it, is that I'll get off of my diet and then I'll just eat whatever I want. I won't gain weight because I work out pretty hard, but I'll just stay the same for a while. But then once I get back on, I'm tracking, then I'll start losing weight again. So the macros, it's not like they stop working. It's just, how committed are you going to be to following those macros?
So if you watch online for very long, and I say online, Instagram, you Google, there's going to be, someone's going to see, like myself, where carbs are the devil. And that's a very generic statement, right? But in general, for the most part, especially if you're a fat kid, carbs are not good, specifically processed carbs. Now, is that the case? But then if you watch long enough, somebody else will come on there. There's a big buff bald dude, Mike something. He's a doctor, and he, Rogan will
Mike,
say,
Israel.
Yeah, Israel. Yep. And then, Rogan will say something and he'll rebut it or he'll refute it. And I think what the hardest thing to overcome or to understand for me, is moderation. And when I say that, I can go eat a cookie and it doesn't really matter. I can eat a Butterfinger and it's not that big of a deal, because I'm structuring my day around that. Meaning I might work out a little bit more. I might cut some other calories back. But in general, if you suffer from an eating disorder, which most Americans do, it is easy to say that processed carbs 100% are horrible for you, and carbs in general are bad and you should drop them down. Now, if you're a fitness freak, carbs are not bad. You need carbs. Mm-hmm. I mean, the problem is when someone, a fat kid or a fat, woman or man, when they're looking at it and they're in, like you, or to a certain degree I was, or others, where you're 260 to 350 pounds, you can pretty much say, I'm not working out very much, and I probably could cut Gatorade, soda, candy bars, pastries, pasta, and everything else that you could possibly think of that's a carb out of your diet for the most part, in my opinion. Now, that's just me, because carbs are the devil. And if you tell somebody to cut them all out, they'll probably won't anyway, but they'll cut them down. What are your thoughts on all of that? Like, how fucked up was your diet when you started this?
No, yeah. I mean, so when I started, I lived in Texas. Have you ever been to a Buc-ee's gas station?
Mm-hmm. Yep. They're biggies. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love Buc-ee's. They're putting one in Boise, and if I still live here when that thing goes in, I'm going to be the first person in line. But anyway, I literally every day I would go to Buc-ee's and get like a couple sandwiches, some sort of candy, and then a Monster. And that was what I would eat. And then I wish I would have tracked my steps back then, because I was in the car. My drive to work was 2.5 hours one way. So I just had tons of windshield time. So I was eating, a Buc-ee's sandwich is probably 1,300 calories. So 2,600 calories, a bag of candy, that's probably 700. So I'm looking at like literally 3,300 calories for lunch. And that's how I'm starting my day. And who knows how many carbs is in that? It's probably like 300 grams of carbs. And then just sitting. And then all of that is just in my blood sugar, in my system. So, yeah, I agree with you where a lot of people do get into this carbs are the enemy thing, which, it kind of is true. Like, if you think about someone like me, I'm literally addicted to food. I realized that kind of recently. I have no portion control. Like you said, you could eat a cookie. My wife always, it's funny because she always brings this up. Like, she'll buy some cookies or something, and she'll eat one. And I'm like, hey, can I have one? And she's like, no, because you're not going to eat one. You're going to eat the whole pack. And then I will. And she's right. Like, I just have no control over it. And it's not even like a conscious thing. It's like, I look down, I'm like, wow, I'm 5 cookies deep. Did I even taste any of those? So I think for people like me, carbs really are your enemy because you're an addict. And if you think about, like, if you had a friend that was an alcoholic and he became sober, you wouldn't take him to a bar and be like, hey, dude, just have one. It's not going to hurt you. Because then he doesn't have one. He can't do that. You know what I mean?
No, fuck, I agree with you 100% because I am in the same boat. And when I cannot put unhealthy things in the house because I'll eat them all. And I make homemade cashew butter and I'll throw in some protein powder, whatever. But even still, it's a lot of fat, and I'll eat the whole fucking container, which is probably 18,000 calories in the course of 4 days, right? Out a couple scoops here. And so, the thing is obviously moderation, working out, caloric intake, keeping track of that. When you initially start though, you definitely want to go in and figure out your metabolic, like your basal metabolic rate. How many calories are you burning throughout the day if you just sat there and were breathing? And then figure out, okay, I'm burning this many calories, and then get something, I don't know what you use, like MyFitnessPal, for tracking your macros and your caloric intake. It's much like, and if you sound like just as special needs as I am, like keeping track of your bills. What do you spend a month? Why don't you ever have any money? If you write down everything you spend money on at the end of the month, you're going to be like, holy shit, I'm pissing away money on, fucking C4s and Snickers bars at the gas station or whatever. No different with tracking your food, because when you actually start, you brought it up, like you go eat a Philly cheesesteak sandwich, that's probably pushing 1,800 calories if you've got fries with it or something. I don't know, I have to look, but it's a lot, right? And other things are even worse. And so when you look at what you've eaten and you're like, I didn't eat that much today, but you had like a Snickers here, and then later on you got like a Big Mac at McDonald's, and then later on at dinner you had like a big thing of pasta. That is really not conducive to, one, not just losing weight, but two, feeling good, right? Like, and so when you start to do this, like hypothetically, if you burned 3,000 calories in a day and you only ate 2,800 calories of donuts, you're actually still in a caloric deficit, and you're going to lose weight. And you could eat 3,000 or 3,200 calories in chicken breast, and you would technically gain weight. Now, the thing that people need to understand is, if you crave sugar, it is like a detox, and you got it once you get it out of your system. If you're like, oh, you know what, today I'm going to have a cheat. For most fat kids, there's not just a cheat day. It ends up becoming a cheat weekend and then a cheat month. So talk about that a little bit. Are you same opinion of that? Like, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, so like this, for example, like, I went to one of my favorite spots in the world is the Oregon coast. We go every year. We were just there this weekend, and it started out, I was like, well, I'm not going to just, like, I'm going to eat whatever I want because we only come here once a year for a few days. So I'm going to have, like, I'm going to eat all the food I like. And then I left and was like, holy crap. Every meal that I ate there I ordered a side bowl of clam chowder. I don't even know how many calories in a bowl of freaking clam chowder, but it's probably not none. And you feel it. Like that's the thing is like you feel it. So then I'm in the gym. Like we got home Tuesday, and I was in the gym yesterday, and just thinking the whole time, like, was that worth it? Probably not. Because then you start thinking, you're like, okay, well, you do the same math, and it's way easier to be you think about that 3,500 calories that it takes to lose 1 pound. It is so much harder to burn that than it is to consume that. So then you start thinking, okay, well, it's going to take me 3 weeks or 2 weeks to just unravel what I just did. And so that's what you got to ask yourself. So, yeah, I'm kind of dealing with that right now, but on the not good side.
Well, so like looking at like a restaurant clam chowder, I Googled is 300 to 400 calories for a cup, and a cup is not very much, right? And so like if you look at, I don't know, if you walked like a mile or whatever, like how many, calories does do you burn if you walk a mile, which is like 100 or 120?
Yeah, 100. Yep.
Yeah, and so. I'm going off of memory. So like, obviously when I use my tracker on my watch, that's my steps and caloric burn. If I have a 50-pound pack on and I walk 7 miles and it says I've burnt 4,700 calories for the day, it's probably closer to 5,500 to 6,000 or something, because I have the weight on my back, which is, burning more. If it's hotter out, I'm going to be burning more because my body's trying to keep it cooler. The thing though is that for me to walk 7 miles with a 50-pound pack in aggressive terrain will about kill you. And let's say that burns an extra 2,000 calories. What we just read through the course of a day, depending if it's 400 calories per bowl of clam chowder, and I have 5 bowls of clam chowder or cups, right? That takes very little energy and very little effort to eat clam chowder, especially if you enjoy it, or eat a Snickers or a cookie. So I agree with you 100%. It's a 90-10 split. Like when I say that, it's so much easier to get fat than it is to get it off, because you can consume in one 5-minute portion what will take you 3 hours in a workout to burn off.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And 3 hours of like a hard workout, not 3 hours of, hey, I hit arms and elliptical.
Yeah. No, it's true. And I think everybody kind of finds their own path, as far as like some people like, oh, I can take a little bit more carbs than others, and I can deal pretty well in the backcountry with a relatively low amount of carbs, but you bonk is the thing. So if you're taking very little calories and your heart rate gets up too high, you're pretty much running on borrowed time, because you're eventually going to bonk unless your body has adapted to like a keto diet. And then it can do, and I say adapted, I'm not a doctor either, but once you're on keto for a while, your body does get used to it. But like, what all have you tried for a diet? Like, did you just stick to macros and cut calories back?
I did carnivore for like, what did I do carnivore for? I think a month. And that was not for me. And then since then, it's just been like kind of just following macros.
So when you said it wasn't for you, I'm assuming that's because you like fruit, I would guess. Like, what did you just not like the way you felt? Were you, a lot of guys at first, or gals, will shit their pants the first couple of weeks being on carnivore. Like, was it just because you craved sugar and wanted, some cantaloupe, or what was it?
No, I was like very strict carnivore. I did it for a full month, and I was like super strict, like just meat. I just felt really greasy, which is, I always feel that way when I don't eat, or when I eat high fat. I feel really greasy. So I kind of felt that way. And then I had the exact opposite problem. I could not shit. That's what finally I was like, dude, I gotta go eat some berries. I just could not shit. But the way I feel the best is when I just eat meat and fruit. And that's like what I primarily do right now, is just meat and fruit. Cause I think that there's a lot to carnivore, and I think that for a lot of people it's really good. I couldn't do it myself, but I think that cutting out all the processed stuff, I mean, we just eat so much garbage, and even protein powder. I mean, I drink protein powder. I try to limit it a little bit. But even protein powder, you got to wonder, like, okay, all the stuff that goes into that, the artificial sweeteners, the chemicals to make it taste like whatever it tastes like, everything going into that can't be as good for you as eating a chicken breast or eating eggs. You know what I mean?
I agree. And I did the protein powder thing, when I was trying to get super strong, and I don't, the protein powder is just a bit much for me. Honestly, I use it more when I'm making my cereal for when I'm in the backcountry as like a milk substitute, or occasionally we'll throw it when I make the cashew butter, whatever. Yeah. And I mean,
that's actually really smart. So you do protein powder and milk and just water, and then you put that on cereal.
So yeah, what I do is I'll go get whatever type of, granola, and I'll do some sliced almonds and usually like chocolate covered coffee beans or something. And then I, measure that out or whatever. And then I just take one big scoop of protein powder in the Ziploc bag with all of that, and then put the water in, and that's like the milk substitute. And it increases obviously your protein for the day.
Oh, that's genius. That's really smart.
I do the same thing like with the cashew butter. Like I put the cashews in the Food Ninja and then pour, I'll do whatever, a quarter of the little, the processor container, cashews, big scoop of protein powder, more cashews, protein powder. And so then I've got fat from the cashews, obviously. And then I use coconut oil to give it obviously the softer texture. And then I have the protein, so it's very high in fat and protein, which is my thing or whatever. When I mix all that together, and the problem, like, it's super healthy compared to what you would buy, unless you eat the whole fucking container in a day, and then it's not nearly as healthy, and you end up shitting, and it looks just like what you ate. So my problem again is moderation. I really have to keep a handle on that.
Yeah.
So with like what, I think you said you want to get down to 200, you're at 20, what % body fat?
25.
And how much, like, I don't run, like I hate running. Like, how much are you running? Cause it looks like you run quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I did. So I was running a lot. Like I ran 2 ultras last year. I ran 1 this year. And then I got injured, in April. Was it? I think it was April. I got injured, and I've been dealing with that since April, and I've just now kind of figured it out. I had this horrible Achilles tendonitis, which I know sounds like I'm just kind of being a bitch, but it would flare up every day. So when I would wake up, and it still does, but I've figured out kind of how to deal with it. But I would wake up and I could barely walk until I could get things loosened up. And I had this running, I would be in so much pain a quarter mile in, I just couldn't do the run. But I've kind of gotten that figured out, so I'm able to start throwing mileage on again. But I'm keeping my mileage a little bit lower right now. I'm doing some high rock stuff in November and December this year. So I'm just trying to get faster. I'm not necessarily trying to have a huge amount of volume. So I'll probably build up to around 20 to 30 miles a week and then just kind of stay there, going into these high rocks races.
Gotcha. So what, and you may have mentioned this, what is your caloric intake a day now?
Right now I'm staying right around 2,000.
Gotcha. And then what deficit is that putting you in?
I think it's probably around, I don't know. It just depends on how. So my BMR is 20. It's like 2,070. So between running and working out, I'm probably around 700 to 1,000. The problem with one of the things with running, when you do a ton of running, is your body adapts and it kind of slows you down a little bit. So for me, I don't know. And that's one thing too, is like, you'll hear all these numbers and everything, and people are like, well, it's this simple. You got to figure out what works for you, because what works for you might not work for the next guy over. There are a couple things that are total myths, like the starvation mode or whatever. Like people used to think that all the time, that if you didn't eat enough, your body would go into this starvation mode. That's not a real thing, but you do need to figure out where you need to be at. So like for me, if I looked at the numbers, it would say eat like 2,500. But for me, if I eat 2,500, I just feel heavier and I don't lose weight. So 2,000 kind of gives me that spot right where I want to be at.
No, that makes total sense. So, well, what do you think, getting off the diet side of things, like yesterday we had a quick, conversation, hunting wise, you had made fun of yourself a little bit as far as on the elk hunting side of things. Obviously, I'm sure losing the weight has made you more, fluid and whatever, dynamic in the mountains. What's going on the elk hunting side? Like I think you said you've struck out. You're 0 for 4. Are you learning? Are you getting close? What's going on with that?
Yeah. So when I was growing up, I've killed quite a few, or I don't know, quite a few, probably like 4 or 5 cows growing up. But it was always, I don't really count it because it was in the middle of an alfalfa field on a deprivation tag. So I don't think that necessarily counts. I've never killed like mountain elk. So in 2022 was the first year that I started elk hunting with a bow. And it was one of those things that was kind of funny because you don't know what you don't know. So I just figured, let's go find some alfalfa field and post up right next to it. And then we'll just shoot them right when they walk into the field. And I didn't realize that that's like way harder on public land. So I've kind of had to relearn everything about elk hunting and realize, you actually don't know anything. Like you didn't really have any like skills. You just knew how to drive out to a field and you had a good relationship with a farmer. So, I've just been trying to relearn everything. So I got into elk. The past 2 years, I've gotten into elk with the help of some friends. So I'm starting to figure out a little bit more. This year, I'm pretty excited because I've got a really good hunt in Idaho that I'm really excited about. We're going to go out on a scouting trip on Monday and put up some cameras. And then I'm also hunting the first week of September. I'm going down to Colorado and hunting with Derek Wolf, and so that'll be a really good hunt too. This year I'm really hopeful. This year, I think I'm going to finally get things figured out.
What's been the biggest, issue? I guess like what would you say like the number one mistake or top 3 mistakes you were making?
I think that the biggest thing is not knowing what you're not knowing the mistakes you're making while you're making them. So like I think about last year. So last year I found this one spot on Onyx that looked really good. I went in there, I glassed up a bull, and that was like the night before opening. So I thought, okay, I'll come back to where this bull is tomorrow morning and I'll kill him and that'll be awesome. And then I never saw that elk again. But I hunted that same spot like 15 days, the same exact spot. And I would find some signs. I'd put up a camera, not see anything on the camera, but I just kept going back to that same spot. And then finally my buddy was like, dude, this spot sucks. Let's go just check out this spot. And then we found elk that day. So I think like just like those small mistakes that you make where you're like, well, I'm putting in work, but you're not actually doing anything. There's this like story I heard one time about a fisher, and he comes home, he's been gone for 10 hours. And they're like, well, how many fish did you catch? And he's like, I didn't catch any. And then they break down his day, and he spent an hour driving to a gas station, an hour at the gas station, and then he spent like 4 hours driving around looking for fishing spots. And then by the time you look at how long he actually had his line in the water, he had his line in the water for like 30 minutes and then left. So I think hunting can be a lot like that same thing. At least for elk hunting, if you're in a bad spot or you're doing things wrong, you're just kind of wasting your time, but you feel like you're doing something. And so I feel like that's kind of been something I've been caught up in the last few years is I'm either hunting a spot that I have no business being in, or I've maybe blown some stuff out. Like I walked right through the middle of a wallow and took a piss next to it. Like that is the dumbest, like that's so dumb. I think you could get like probably shots for something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So this year, I mean, what do you do? What do you got going on different? Do you have a better spot? I mean, what's going on with that?
Yeah, so we're gonna hunt some more open country stuff so that I can be behind glass a lot more. I usually hunt some pretty thick stuff, so I'm never really behind glass. And so that's gonna be one thing that we change up a lot this year. Is we're gonna hunt glass. I've spent a lot of time learning how to e-scout. I've just been watching a ton of stuff online, so I know more of, I guess, better spots to look in a unit. Because I mean, every unit has elk. There's probably a lot of units that are way better than other units. But it's just knowing, I think, that those good spots, like a guy like you, I'm sure that you could go to probably anywhere and you're going to consistently get into stuff because you just kind of know where to look. So I'm trying to learn from people like you online of like, okay, look at this. Here's what you kind of want to look for. And then we're going to go out next week and start looking in those spots so that we have a better idea of where to be during the season and where to actually spend our time hunting.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So you got obviously elk. Are you hunting anything else this year? Is elk your primary, or do you have any other hunts going on?
Yeah, I've got I drew this early season deer tag, so it opens on the 15th this month. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's out in the desert, so I've never hunted desert stuff, so that'll be pretty fun. And then I'm elk hunting in September. I'm going to go to Illinois and do a whitetail hunt, so that'll be pretty cool. And then we're going to go down to Texas, and we'll do some whitetail hunting down there too. And then my wife is going to deer hunt with her bow this year. She shot her first buck last year with a rifle, and that was awesome. I was way more stoked about that than anything I've ever been being stoked for myself. But that was awesome. And then she's going to do her first bow hunt this year, so that'll be really cool too.
Gotcha. What how's that been? Has she been shooting for a while, or did you just get her a bow, or and what kind of, sometimes couples don't do well doing activities, specifically home improvement projects. How's that going, getting her to shoot?
Oh, it's actually been way better than I thought. She actually really, really enjoys it, which is super helpful. And she was way better than I thought she was going to be with it, which is kind of funny. So we got her a bow, got it set up a few months ago. So she shot a couple times. We went to a 3D shoot and it didn't go great, but it's because I didn't realize her sight was like completely off. And so she shot really consistently high and left. So at least they were all the same misses, but she has a really good time with it. So we're going to spend as much time as we can between now and September, just kind of getting everything back and dialed, and then it'll be pretty easy. Like, we're not going to do anything crazy. She'll probably shoot. I mean, she'll just shoot whatever. Like, if it's a doe, it's a doe. If it's a buck, it's a buck. But she's pretty excited about it.
No, that's cool. So, with like when you were talking about going back to the fitness thing from hunting or whatever, how meticulous are you with your like backpacking food, like or your hunting food? Do you slack up a little bit, or are you fairly meticulous with that?
No, I'm kind of retarded with stuff like that. Like, I'm not really that particular on. I just buy the freeze dried stuff, and then I'll throw in like some protein bars, and I'll take like a couple scoops of protein. But I don't go crazy, just because I don't like eating in the morning anyway. So I really only need like 2 meals while I'm out there, and then I figure I don't have to go crazy with that, because every time I drive through a town, I'll probably just go grab something anyway. So I have something that's not freeze dried, but I pretty much only eat the freeze dried stuff.
Gotcha. Well, cool. Well, with everything that you've had, like, I don't want to even call it, but the notoriety, I guess you could say, like on social, and losing all the weight and getting more and more into hunting. Is there anything looking back you wish you would have done any different, or when I say anything different, that means diet, social, work, whatever else, like looking back at it now, is there anything you're like, I probably fucked this up?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I wouldn't have let myself get to 300 pounds. That was a pretty big one, but I don't know. I think, yeah, I mean, I'm only 27. So I don't know. I've definitely made a few mistakes along the way. Like with work stuff, I've definitely made some big mistakes with work stuff and with the weight loss. I don't know. I think you're kind of shaped. I wish I would have gotten into CrossFit a lot sooner. Then I probably wouldn't be so into running, which I wish I wasn't. Because running just is like, it just destroys your body. But I don't know. I think you kind of learn, and you kind of, as you navigate stuff, you just pick up a lot of lessons along the way. So I don't know that I have anything where I'm like really like, man, I wish I would have done that differently. I think things worked out pretty good so far.
Gotcha. No, that's good. Well, it's good to have, like I said, someone like you on the podcast, like before, where you have some Greek god or whatever else. It's sometimes it's easier to hear from someone that's gone through it or going through it, but also like you're, kind of making jokes about yourself as far as being special needs, but most people, I would say, when they first getting into diet and nutrition, fitness, are special needs as well. You know what I mean? Like most of the time, they don't know what the hell they're doing either. And so it's always good to hear the perspective of somebody that kind of learned from the bottom up or learn maybe the hard way. So I do appreciate you coming on and giving that info. You got anything else you want to add as far as motivational speeches for anybody listening in?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not like I don't have much for motivation. I think the biggest thing is you're never going to regret getting more fit, especially for hunting. I mean, I think probably most of the people listening to this are pretty hardcore hunters. You just have to set yourself up. You set your life up in a way that allows you to do everything. That's what has been kind of the biggest thing for me is I've always had really flexible work schedules so that I can spend a lot of time with the fitness stuff and with the hunting stuff. I've always been self-employed. So, yeah, I mean, I just think that you set yourself up and set your priorities up. And then the other thing, too, is my wife is like 100% on board with everything I do. And that's I think, the biggest thing, too, is if you have friction at home, it's going to be, I think, impossible to accomplish anything you want. So my wife is like super on board. Like one of the things that's really cool about my wife is she has learned, like, she knows more about the diet stuff than I do, and she'll cook our meals to macros. So she's like, when she plans our meals for the week, it's not, what do you want to eat? It's, how do you want to eat this week? Do you want lower carb at night, higher protein? And then she just cooks it. So that's been really cool too. So I think you and your spouse getting on the same page is kind of key to the whole thing.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. So, well, dude, I appreciate you coming on. It's been fun watching your journey, especially with the comical value added into it. So it does take a lot of balls to get out there and at whatever 290, 300 pounds and run down the street with your shirt off and make fun of yourself. I would imagine you got all kinds of crazy different comments when you first started posting those.
Yeah, I still do. But it's all the same. It's just always like hit jokes. So at some point, people are going to have to get more creative.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, shit. Well, Nate, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, dude. And where can people find you, kind of follow along with your journey?
Yeah, just Nate_Illingsworth, Instagram, YouTube. Got a new podcast that's going to be dropping pretty soon with a buddy. So that'll be, I'll kind of post that and stuff too. So yeah, just Nate_Illingsworth on everything.
Right on, dude. Well, thank you again for coming on, man, and good luck, with the fitness diet thing as well as with elk hunting. I truly wish you get a good elk this year for all of your hard work. It would be badass to see a photo of you with a big bull. So good luck.
Yeah, thanks, brother. I appreciate that.
Yep, no problem, man. Take it easy.
Yep, we'll see ya.